Hello, everybody, from Radio St. Rose. Welcome to Are You Not Entertained?
No, I'm not.
Blaze, you can never be entertained. You're incorrigible.
Thank you.
My name is Brendan Tina, and I am joined at this time by the executive producer of Radio St. Rose, Blaze Bryant. Thank you very much for joining me tonight, Blaze.
Hey,
I appreciate it.
No problem. I didn't have anything going on. It's all good.
This is a brand new show here on Radio St. Rose, and the format is going to change each week. I want to focus on different areas of the entertainment industry, but with a different theme each week, as it were. So tonight we'll focus on television. There's plenty of news to go around in the next 30 minutes to discuss that Blaze and I will be addressing. And then, the next week will be movies. The week after that will be music. Then maybe we'll do something related directly to the internet or social media. And then we'll be back to television. And it'll progress on and on and on like that for the course of the semester. So I hope you enjoy it, guys.
It's like, you know how in Lion King there's a circle of life? Well, in this show, it's like the circle of entertainment, or the entertainment circle.
Very much so. Well said.
Thank you. That's probably the greatest contribution I'll have to this show.
Okay.
Are you not entertained?
So we are going to get started in the world of television, like I said, and there's plenty of news to go around. Last night, Sunday night, was the Emmy Awards. This is one of the award shows that isn't always that newsworthy because compared to some other award shows, the Emmys really likes to award the same people year after year after year for the work that they do. It's not that they don't deserve it, but they always seem to overlook new people and prefer to vote for and award the people that they know and the work that they're familiar with. That was not the case this past Sunday night at the Emmy Awards. For the first time ever in its illustrious five-season history, Breaking Bad has finally won the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series, beating out the heavily favored House of Cards on Netflix and, of course, Showtime's Homeland, as well as Mad Men, another popular show on AMC along with Breaking Bad. But there are some other really interesting winners as well that left me kind of scratching my head. The biggest one was Jeff Daniels for The Newsroom. Now, Jeff Daniels is a terrific actor, Blaze, but The Newsroom itself as a show I've never really been impressed with, and has been kind of a disappointment, especially coming from a writer and a creator like Aaron Sorkin, who I respect quite a lot. So it was very surprising to see that he won over some of the other actors like Kevin Spacey for House of Cards, Damian Lewis for Homeland, or Bryan Cranston for Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I feel like in the whole realm of actors, Kevin Spacey is a tier or two above Jeff Daniels. And
he is an Academy Award winner, Kevin Spacey.
Right. And like I said, in terms of actors, of course, my knowledge of film and movies and stuff like that, I'll say that right off the bat, is cursory. But it's still, like you said, makes you scratch your head, because Spacey is really well known and he has done a lot of great work. But what is it about The Newsroom that disappoints you?
I think it just could be so much more. It started off with a lot of great promise in the first season. When I caught it, I liked the premise. I'm a fan of Aaron Sorkin and his writing style. But then it just it's reminding me right now of the third, fourth, and fifth seasons of The West Wing, where it just got bogged down in way too much stuff instead of keeping it simple and with the main storylines that people were really interested in to begin with. And Jeff Daniels' character always just sort of seems like he's trying to deliberately cause some sort of outrage or shock when he's almost sort of being like a shock jock when he's the nightly news host on a broadcasting television network. He's sort of like the Brian Williams for this fictional network, but he's more conservative leaning, so he's a little more outspoken on things.
Yeah, I mean, and that's completely contradictory to what any sort of nightly news anchor should be. I mean, there are two really solid ones. You have Brian Williams and Scott Pelley. Diane Sawyer for ABC, I think, is a tier and a half below them. But I mean, the fact that the newsroom isn't even portrayed as such, it does certainly take a little bit of a. It definitely takes a little bit away from me.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's a good point. It doesn't feel like it's accurately representing the world of broadcast news, which
It's quite
is
ironic when you
which
think
is
about
pretty,
it.
yeah, and which is pretty interesting in itself if you did stick with that formula. But then also, it's just going. It's trying and is becoming a little too heavy-handed with drama of different types, and it just feels unnecessary and frankly kind of boring at times. So I've really kind of given up on the show. Maybe they'll turn it around. I hope they turn it around because I like a lot of the actors on the show and I like Aaron Sorkin. But at the moment, I've given up on that show, on the newsroom.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's in some sense like Jon Stewart and The Daily Show. I mean, I've seen both shows, and Jon Stewart, either he really does it for me or he really doesn't. It's, to me, he's always been kind of streaky. I mean, do you see that comparison?
A little bit. I guess I don't. I guess I'm a bigger fan of the Daily Show and of Jon Stewart in general, so I don't find him as streaky. But I get your point. I see what you mean. Let's move on to some of the other interesting winners. I don't think I ever really read about any outrage, but there was just definitely some surprise and kind of a at some of the people who won last night at the Emmys. Bobby Cannavale for Boardwalk Empire. He won Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series. This guy is also a very terrific actor. He's a very good character actor, has done a lot of supporting roles on different television series, including cop dramas and comedies, and he's a veteran of Broadway plays. But it was still just very surprising to see him win over some actors who are doing terrific work and are incredibly popular, like Peter Dinklage in Game of Thrones.
I don't know how he was beaten out.
Mandy Patinkin for Homeland, and of course Aaron Paul for Breaking Bad. But I thought for sure that Peter Dinklage was going to win the Emmy for Game of Thrones. He's just, again, another very fine actor, and he's at like the peak of his popularity right now. That show is absolutely on fire in terms of popularity and getting ratings for a premium cable network like HBO. It's doing very, very well. So it was definitely a surprise to see that he did not win the statue last night.
Right. It's Game of Thrones has over the last few years been one of the biggest shows. It almost seemed to me like it shot out of a rocket in terms of its popularity, and it's kind of surprising that Bobby wasn't beaten out by both Peter and Game of Thrones and Aaron Paul in Breaking Bad.
Right. And Aaron Paul has won it before, so I'm not terribly upset that he didn't win again. To the best of my knowledge, I do not believe Peter Dinklage has won an Emmy for this role yet, so that was very surprising to me.
Either, but we'll double
So
check.
I certainly,
some other time.
yeah, I'm sure we'll get corrected by someone later in hate mail.
We always do. Are you not entertained?
Another interesting one. I have not watched this show yet, so I really can't, and I don't know this actor, so I can't speak to his abilities, but Tony Hale won the Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series for his role in the television show Veep. I believe that's on Showtime. I know that it stars Julia Louis-Dreyfus, better known as Elaine from Seinfeld. She plays the vice president on the show. Obviously, he's good at his job, and he did a terrific job in the last season, or he wouldn't have won the Emmy. But it was surprising to see that he beat out some favorites like Ty Burrell from Modern Family, Ed O'Neill from Modern Family, who, as you know, for playing Al Bundy, is always going to have a soft spot in my heart.
Absolutely.
So that was very interesting to see. Another very, very big surprise was this actress who I've never heard of before, Merritt Wever, won Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series for the show Nurse Jackie, which I don't know if you've seen, Blaze, but it stars Edie Falco, who played Carmen Soprano on The Sopranos many years ago. Uh,
I've not seen it, but it sounds hilarious.
it's a black comedy. It's kind of dark and a little morbid at times, but it's good. Edie Falco is terrific.
Dark and morbidity is that a word?
It is now.
Hey, the Radio St. Rose Dictionary. I mean, I'm all for dark and morbidity. This is college radio, folks.
So it was just surprising to see that she won over other heavy perennial favorites like Jane Krakowski from 30 Rock, Jane Lynch for her role as the mean coach on Glee, and Sofia Vergara for Modern Family as well.
Hasn't Jane Lynch won an Emmy?
She's won a few, but like I said, the Emmys is one of the award shows, unlike others, where they seem to constantly award perennial favorites that they have found. If they find someone that they like one year, chances are they're going to get more than one for years and years. And there's all of a sudden kind of a lot of new blood, so to speak, at the Emmy Awards this past Sunday. So, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's definitely good to see new people getting their due and winning awards, but it's just a little bit of surprise because it's breaking the trend for that show.
Do you think in the future that there will be more of a scatter plot now for future shows than there has been in the past?
You mean, do I think that
that
the awards will be dispersed out more and that like there won't be a sort of conglomerate of one show taking a huge haul of awards?
Yeah, or is it, or do you think that it's not going to be so much as it's who you know, like the Emmys has traditionally been?
I think that's certainly possible. You can never really make a guess on a trend just by one year's performance, but I think that that's certainly possible. A lot of people, and I don't know if I completely agree with him, but I see the point when a lot of people say that we are kind of in a golden age of television right now, in the sense of the quality of the programs that are available to us and the plethora of programs that are available to us. So seeing the sort of the wealth, so to speak, in terms of the awards being spread out amongst a pretty diverse group of shows, actors, performers, and programming styles and networks, it's very nice to see it. For years and years, Mad Men had a firm grip on the Outstanding Drama Award at the Emmys. And just like years before then, it was always The Sopranos and James Gandolfini winning the Outstanding Actor Award, and then it would be Kiefer Sutherland for 24. And so they always kind of like find someone that they like, and they stick with that person for like 3 or 4 years, it seems. So maybe now it's going to get broken up, and it's not going to be as much of a sure thing. I certainly kind of hope so. It would make it a little bit more interesting during the telecast for people who are watching. And it will justly give people their due who are really doing terrific work right now.
Absolutely. And it really is quite incredible how just 5 years ago you did not have, I would say, maybe a fifth of the programming that you have now. And I would assume that the Emmys did some sort of tribute thing for James Gandolfini.
I actually do not know. I did not catch the telecast last night, but I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet that they had some sort of memorial honoring him, because he was a very beloved and popular actor, not just among television viewers, but among people in Hollywood in general. He was always very well spoken of.
Yeah, absolutely. And even, with The Sopranos, and when he died, you had people calling up sports talk shows in New York City, and they wanted to talk about James Gandolfini. The impact that he had on the world is, almost unheard of today.
Yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought up James Gandolfini, because we're going to talk about Breaking Bad in a couple moments, but it's actually kind of a nice tie-in, because James Gandolfini as Tony Soprano set the tone and set a standard that over the last 12 to 13 years, we've seen on terrific television programs, especially on cable programs, where they're able to do a little more because of more lax FCC regulations, where the central character, the protagonist, is at best an anti-hero, if not an outright villain.
Right.
But they have this incredible charm and charisma. They do still have some sort of moral code that they stick to where it makes you root for them. And James Gandolfini set that template years and years ago as Tony Soprano. It's become evident ever since then. We saw it with Dexter, which just ended recently. We see it with the character Walter White on Breaking Bad. You can name any number of terrific cable shows lately over the last 10 to 12 years, and I could probably name at least one of the characters that owes a debt of gratitude to Tony Soprano.
The Walking Dead.
The Governor.
I guess you can.
Or Merle.
Yeah, I could definitely go along with both of those.
Let's move on now to Breaking Bad. This past Sunday was the second to last episode, the penultimate episode of the entire series. It's hard to believe that this show started only a little over 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago now. And it's had the monumental success that it's had for a number of really unconventional reasons. But nevertheless, it's all coming to an end. It's hard to believe, and it's really hard to try to figure out how it's going to end. I'll give you guys fair warning right now. I apologize in advance. If you haven't gotten caught up on the latest episode of Breaking Bad, consider this your official spoiler alert for the next few minutes.
Spoiler alert!
We need to make that a soundbite from now on. Just plug that into the show in future episodes.
We can do that.
All right. Starting off, right at the very beginning, in the previous episode, Walt's brother-in-law, Hank, was tragically killed. As a result, Walt felt he had no choice but he had to go on the run. So he takes safe passage from a trucker, and he goes all the way out from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the show takes place, all the way out to New Hampshire in the middle of winter.
Wow.
Yeah, he's become like public enemy number one and one of the most wanted men in the entire country, not even just in Albuquerque right now.
Whoa.
So he has to go completely off the grid. He's hiding out in a cabin, just him, the cancer medication that he has, and the giant barrel full of $10 or $11 million that he guards with his life. Meanwhile, Jesse is still being held prisoner by the band of neo-Nazis, and one of the really heartbreaking moments that really kind of just hit you like a sucker punch in the gut last night was when one of the members of that group, Todd, who is really turning into just a complete sociopath amongst the group, which is saying quite a lot when you look at those guys. He seems to be like the most unstable and craziest. He ends up killing the woman that Jesse loves, Andrea, right in front of him as a form of punishment for trying to escape. It was very heart-wrenching and gut-wrenching to see. The DEA knows that Walter White they suspect that Walter White is the notorious Heisenberg drug dealer, so they are trying to go after him, and in order to do that, they're going after his wife. There's so many things that did kind of get sewed up, but at the same time, in true Breaking Bad fashion, there's still plenty of things that need to be resolved. It's official that the final episode is going to be extended from the normal 1 hour format to an hour and 15 minutes, including commercials. So they will have a little more time to resolve everything, but it's just got to make you wonder, how in the world are they going to do this, and how is it going to end? It's pretty much a foregone conclusion that for Walt anyways, and most likely for Jesse and Skyler, that it's not going to end well. But how can this end for them?
Or could it end well for them?
I think a lot of people would be really upset if it did, and I think there would be a lot of backlash if things did end up kind of rosy for them. Because it's just, the way that everything has been going so far and the way that seems like things are set up right now, it doesn't seem like it could possibly end in a very happy, rosy fashion for Walt and the rest of the people involved in the show.
It doesn't, but you know how film producers and show producers are, and surprises, surprises. You never know.
That's true. So we'll have to obviously wait to find out this coming Sunday for the final episode of Breaking Bad. Until then, I'm going to give my own semi-bold predictions on this. I can't really give too much away. I don't want to go out on too much of a limb because, frankly, I don't want to look like a huge idiot on the very first episode of this brand new show that I have.
Bold predictions.
So my feeling is we all know that based on the way this past episode ended, that Walt has left New Hampshire and is coming back to New Mexico. I think that in the end, he is just going to simply be in his own hell where he is going to be completely alone, even if it means that the cops and the DEA, the feds, have not arrested him and he has somehow managed to get scot-free. He will be completely alone. His family will have left him. No one will want anything to do with him. He'll be a complete social pariah. He will just be, for lack of a better term, he'll ostracize, a complete outcast. I think that, but having said that, that's the best case scenario, I think, for Walt. I think the worst case scenario is that Skylar, his wife, is going to be forced to testify against him, and the DA will go after Walt, and he will eventually go down. Jesse, at this point, I don't see how he gets out of his situation alive. I really kind of hope he does, but I really don't see it happening. The other really interesting supporting characters, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. We've only got a few minutes left to discuss, so I'm going to switch over to the final subject, where we were talking about the start of the fall TV season. This doesn't quite have the same level of importance for a lot of people as it did in the past, because television viewing has really become a year-round thing. There's so many great shows that run their seasons during the summer. So, but having said that, the major 3 networks still run the bulk of their shows from late September, early October through May. And this week is the very first week of television preview. So, Blaze, let me turn it over to you. Are there any shows coming up, not necessarily starting this week, but that will be having season debuts in the fall that you're particularly looking forward to?
I am super stoked for The Voice. I got into it.
Christina Aguilera and CeeLo are back this season.
That's going to be interesting. Let's see. We have Christina Aguilera. We have CeeLo. Let's see. Blake. Yeah, Blake, right?
Blake Shelton and Adam Levine from
yeah.
Maroon 5.
This is interesting for a couple of reasons. One, in the previous season, we had Shakira and Usher, who, in my opinion, were, a little maybe too nice. And Usher definitely took advantage, of promoting, and he made sure that Michelle Chamuel in the previous season, who I thought was about the farthest thing from one of the finalists. Definitely some of those artists got absolutely messed over, but that's a different subject for another day. It'll be interesting that he and Shakira are not there. The other reason is, okay, what's the relationship going to be like between Adam Levine and Christina Aguilera? You may remember seeing some time ago that there was a bit of friction, shall we say, between the two of them, and you wonder if, the saying, time heals everything, has done that, but certainly, of course, the other thing that makes it interesting, new artists and whatnot. I'm really looking forward to it. NBC does a great job of it, although I think they need someone other than Carson Daly, who I think is about as talented as that wall over there. But
that does a good job holding up the building. Don't compare that wall to Carson Daly.
Okay. It's I'm really looking forward to it anyway. How about you?
I don't watch too many reality shows, but and I certainly don't watch too many reality competitions. I do generally watch the first couple rounds of The Voice because I like the concept of the coaches having their backs turned to the singers and not being able to see them at first, and really relying just on the strength and quality of the singers' vocal talents to determine whether they want to have them on their team. Generally, afterwards, once it starts to get into like the knockout rounds or whatever they call it afterwards, I kind of lose interest. But I do enjoy, at the very least, those opening rounds, those first few episodes, because I like that concept.
And the auditions are hilarious.
The auditions can be downright hilarious and awkward at times. That's true. It's already had its premiere, and it's already several episodes in, but there's a reality show on Sci-Fi that I enjoy very much called Face Off. If you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out because it's a reality competition that, unlike a lot of others, is really based on people's professional skills and craft. And in this case, it's all about special effects and makeup work. So each week they'll have a competition, and they have to take these beautiful models and actors and turn them into hideous, grotesque-looking monsters, aliens, sea creatures, underground demons, etc., etc. And it's very fascinating for me as a theater technician to see the amount of work and skill that goes into creating those things. I also like it because it's just generally not as catty and filled with drama as there are on a lot of these other competition shows between the competitors. The drama solely is in just being able to create the best special effect makeup piece each week in and week out.
And speaking of previews, the preview of Are You Not Entertained is just about out of time.
Indeed we are, Blaze. Thank you for reminding me. One final thing before we go off the air, the other show I'm very much looking forward to that I have to talk about, the inner nerd in me is completely psyched for Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s debuts on Tuesday night, which happens to be my birthday, so I'll be watching that for sure.
Is that tomorrow? Or?
It is tomorrow.
Well, happy birthday, man.
Thank you very much, sir.
Bet.
So, with that said, for Radio St. Rose, I am Brendan Teenan.
And filling in this week, I'm Blaze Bryant.
Thanks so much for listening, guys. We hope to see you next week. Have a good night.
And that you're entertained. And that you're entertained.